Sometimes in movies, one character's intellect is so far above the rest that all others seem like little more than chess pieces dancing around the board according to the brilliance of that one character's flawless strategic plan. We see this in Harry Potter with Albus Dumbledore, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at times with Doctor Strange, and of course, in The Emperor's New Groove with Kronk? Not buying it? Keep watching while I unravel all the clever acting and brilliant foresight that brought Kronk exactly where he wanted to be.
You owe me a new acorn.
For me, the first big clue comes when we learn that Kronk is fluent in squirrel, enough to hold a conversation with one that he finds out in the forest. Now, learning a second language is not an easy task, especially when that language doesn't stem from the same historical origin as yours. And especially when that language doesn't stem from the same historical species as yours. Or so I assume. But it doesn't just stop at one animal language.
I had to be versed in all the woodland creatures.
But just how many types of woodland creatures are there? Well, after extensive research, also known as a quick search on Google, the answer seems to range from a few dozen to literally millions. Now, even if we assume it's on the smaller side of that range, that is still very impressive. But is it enough to call him a mastermind? Well, have you ever wondered how Pacha and Cusco managed to evade Yzma with such ease? Or how they managed to eat at the same diner, one table apart, and magically never run into each other? Or who actually ordered that giant trampoline set up at just the right place to save Yzma from an assuredly fatal fall? Let's take a look at Kronk's actions throughout The Emperor's New Groove and see if we can put the pieces together.
I am loving this.
Now, quick note, I will be looking just at The Emperor's New Groove, the movie, for this discussion. I know there's Kronk's New Groove and The Emperor's New School, but those are separate items. Today, I'm looking just at the original movie, and be warned, there will be spoilers. So early on, we see Kronk happily filling his role as Yzma's assistant. He has an important job making sure that the second most powerful person in the kingdom is taken care of. Yzma mentions on multiple occasions that she relies on him, and his actions and tone towards Emperor Cusco appear friendly and positive. Unfortunately, things don't stay that way. When Cusco fires Yzma, Kronk finds himself in the middle of a conspiracy to kill the Emperor, a position I do not believe he was too keen on.
Hate being in the middle.
After Yzma reveals to Kronk that she plans on killing Emperor Cusco, they make their way to the lab. And this is where we see Kronk make his first move. With Yzma over a trapdoor, Kronk pulls the lever that drops her into a pit full of alligators, instead of the one that opens the secret lab. Now you may think this was an accident, but the smile on his face just after she falls says otherwise. Yzma survives and is not deterred, leaving Kronk to look for another way to sabotage this evil plan without revealing himself as a traitor to Yzma. You see, the problem he faces is that there's no evidence of treason, and despite her reduced station, Yzma is still very powerful. Kronk needs to find a way to keep Yzma believing he is on her side, while also preventing this attempted assassination. So when Yzma plans to poison Cusco at a dinner, Kronk switches the poison out for essence of llama, so an attempt can still be made without it being fatal.
This isn't poison.
Being tasked with getting rid of the body, Kronk decides to put it onto the cart of the village leader who was just in the palace earlier that day, and who was talking quite loudly about how his village takes care of the kingdom's llamas. This man leaving with a llama on his cart would not be suspicious. He would know how to take care of Llama Cusco, and then when he discovers that the llama is the emperor, he would assuredly bring him back to the palace. Kronk then needed to get Yzma out of the palace before the emperor returned. So he let slip that Cusco is still alive, so that Yzma would be forced to go out after him.
Just thought I'd give you the heads up, in case Cusco ever came back.
Yzma would never find Cusco, however. As the driver of Yzma's tent, Kronk could easily keep her chasing ghosts, and and avoid the village leader and Cusco should he see them along the way.
We've searched every village.
All was going smoothly for Kronk's grand scheme until they stopped at a roadside diner. And who should be inside but that very same village leader to whom he had entrusted Lama Cusco. Needing to act swiftly, Kronk begins searching for a chance to fix this dilemma. Shortly after arriving, Yzma loudly confesses to the attempted murder of the Emperor.
I should have done away with Cusco myself when I had the chance.
Kronk, knowing that the Emperor is around somewhere, makes sure to respond in a way that does not implicate himself, but rather just as loudly points out that the events taking place are all on Yzma.
You really gotta stop beating yourself up about that.
With this confession made, Kronk needs to know if the Emperor heard what was just said, and to get Pacha and Cusco out of there. He turns to ask for a fork, getting a good look at the situation. He confirms that this is the man with whom he had left Cusco, and he sees 2 plates at the table, but Cusco nowhere in sight. Thinking fast, he pesters Pacha until Pacha has no choice but to flee the area.
No, look, I don't think we've ever met, but look, I gotta go.
Kronk witnesses Pacha run into the kitchen, telling him that Cusco must be in there. Seeing a chance, Kronk makes an excuse to check the kitchens himself. When he doesn't see Pacha or Cusco there, he is forced to assume that they successfully got away. And in this moment is clue number 2 of his brilliance, as he shows that despite all that was going on around him, with one quick glance of that menu, he was able to memorize the entire thing.
3 liquors wearing pants, plate of hot air, basket of grandma's breakfast, and change the bull to a gill. Got it.
After they leave the diner, things appear to be right where Kronk needs them to be. He now knows Pacha has discovered the truth, that this spare llama is the Emperor, and they are on their way back to the palace. Kronk waits a little longer to give Pacha and Cusco a little more time. Then he springs it on Yzma that he suddenly remembers who the man at the diner was and where Cusco must be, and that they should go check that village, knowing that this should put them a few steps behind Cusco and Pacha, who should be on their way to the palace at this very moment. His plan is right back on track.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Or so he thought. Unfortunately, Cusco and Pacha get delayed due to a falling out and subsequent need for reconciliation. Then they make the poor decision to go back to the village for supplies. Fortunately, Kronk has a contingency plan, and he makes sure to tell all the villagers along the way that he and Yzma are on their way to see Pacha and his family, knowing that should Pacha return, the villagers would be sure to warn him.
Hey there, Pacha. Hey, you just missed your relatives.
This leaves Kronk to continue with his primary role of slowing Yzma down, continuing to play the role of the innocent lug.
Okay, but I still have 94 monkeys to go.
This works perfectly, allowing Pacha and Cusco to escape once more. However, Yzma catches sight of the 2 of them, and that means that Kronk can no longer stall. Realizing Pacha and Cusco are not going to make it back with enough time to prepare, Kronk has to pivot to a new plan. Instead of buying time for Pacha and Cusco to prepare at the palace, he has to take a different route, a shortcut that only he knows, to get to the palace before them and prepare for a final confrontation himself. He manages to take the shortcut, keeping it a secret from Yzma, who's riding the tent. Then he continues with his innocent facade, pretending he has no idea how they made it there so fast.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
Once everyone's there, Yzma predictably tosses Kronk the dagger, telling him to finish the job. Kronk takes the chance to distract Yzma, then turns on her, dropping a chandelier on her, showing Emperor Cusco where his true loyalty lies. This buys Cusco and Pacha plenty of time to get the jump on Yzma, allowing them to get the vial, restrain Yzma, and all would be well, except instead of getting the jump on a distracted Yzma, they decide to just stand there. Yzma is then equipped to drop Kronk down one of her secret passages, but it doesn't matter, because Kronk has done enough, leaving a frail old lady without her concealed dagger, without her source of support, alone, against a strong Pacha and a young Cusco, who should have no problem with her. And knowing about all of Yzma's traps, he has taken the extra precaution of secretly ordering a giant trampoline, requesting that it be set up exactly where anyone dropped out of one of those traps would happen to land, ensuring that everyone makes it out alive.
For the last time, we did not order a giant trampoline.
So how did I do, Kronk? Did I successfully uncover your grand scheme, revealing your long-hidden brilliance to the world?
I'm so proud of you guys.
So there you have it. There's my take on how Kronk was the secret mastermind behind everything we saw in The Emperor's New Groove. Do you agree? Let me know in the comments down below. Feel free to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this one. If you want to see why Mei Lin and her mother had such different pandas in Turning Red, click the upper video up here. Or if you want to see how Mirabelle had such a huge impact on the doors in Encanto, click the lower video down here. And until next time, thanks for watching.